This is Off the Growth. Here we speak about many topics. My name's Darcy, if you don't know already, and we try to be authentic in these videos. If you can't tell, I just woke up. It's like 10:47 a.m. on a Sunday. And I know I need to do this. I don't have time all day to be doing things now. I got priorities and I gotta take time out for this channel also, right? So yeah, we're gonna get straight into it. Today's topic is, lessons I've learned and just me kind of reflecting on being back home after being abroad for so long, right? And these are some things that come to your mind. These are some things that I've realized that since I've been home, I've realized what it's like to, you know, have the chance to grow abroad and, like the come down of it too, like what it feels like after. And just reflecting on those type of things, I think it's important too, because now you see a lot of people going abroad, a lot of people trying to, leave the country, go teach, live abroad, work remote, do all these type of things, even outside their state, go across the country. And, it's always important to reflect, to look back and hope that you learn something from that experience, right? So, the first thing I'll say is once you return, you get a little bit of a lonely aspect, right? Now, when you are abroad, when you are doing new experiences, you have to understand the average person is not doing those experiences yet, right? The average person works, average person has a family, average person, stays in their city, which is perfectly okay. I'm not ever going to knock someone for how they live their life. We all have a path, we all have a journey, and some people aren't meant to do all of these unique experiences, right? And so we are lonelier in that aspect. If we could flip it, people who have the family, who have the kids, they're not lonely. They're in love. They have love all around them all the time. And it might be chaotic. It might be a little more wild, but, there's always a trade off. So for this specific situation, I'm explaining the trade off and that we are going to feel lonelier because of if we're moving abroad, half of the people haven't even left the country or left the state. And so this brings a big perspective shift. A lot of people don't have this opportunity to, explore themselves, learn about themselves. They gather their mindset from their environment, right? And once we are able to have all these experiences and, live, laugh, love, we want to share those experiences, but we don't really know how to share those experiences in the right way. Obviously you could explain, oh, when I was in Spain we did this, oh, in Spain they say it like this, and someone who hasn't been there is going to be annoyed. They're like, are they bragging? Are they like, just trying to make me feel jealous? They might feel some type of way, right? There's this person, even when I was abroad in Spain for the first time, right? And this girl, she was talking about her time before this time, and she was like in Costa Rica. And every 5 minutes she was like, oh, in Costa Rica, in Costa Rica. And I'm like, no one cares about Costa Rica. And that's what I'm saying. No one cares that you've been abroad. No one cares that you know this, you know that. No one cares. Everyone is focused on themselves. Everyone is invested in themselves, what's around them, what they have got going on. And when you try to connect with people, it's going to be tougher because they don't have the same idea. They don't have the same mindset as you. They're not as open as you, possibly. And that is why you might feel lonelier in some senses. And being lonelier is never a bad thing. As long as you love yourself, proud of what you've done in life, you're going to feel full in some ways. Obviously you can't replace all love with just self love. You have to work at finding a community again, starting from zero. And if you can't find it where you're at now, just try to move, right? So, yeah, the second thing I'll say is that once I was abroad, I felt a shock, right? Shock the system. Doing something new shocks the system. Trying new food shocks the food palette, right? Shocks your brain. You're like, whoa, what is this? Going on a roller coaster, you get all these emotions. You see new sights, going to the beach. These break the cycle. When we are breaking the cycle, we are breaking our usual thoughts. We're breaking our usual routine. And we're breaking our usual emotions. When we're in a routine all the time flies by. But when we're on vacation, obviously you're having fun, so it's going to fly by too, but it's going to feel a little bit slower just because you're doing something different, right? So when we're able to get out of that routine, we're able to have new ideas, have new thoughts, become creative again. And this is what is really important. I understand that it's not always going to be possible, but if you're able to shock your system, shock your mindset by doing something new, whether that's traveling, eating, meeting new people, trying out just new things, new hobbies, you're able to kind of reset the brain, right? You are creating space to allow new things to come into the brain. Because when constant things are coming into your brain, it's the same thing every day. Those thoughts, those ideas, those feelings, the mindset is going to compound. And it's just going to be that much harder to get out of that mindset. So don't be afraid of shock, right? We can talk about fear too. Obviously, if something is shocking, the system is going to be new. Your body is going to be looking for signals of safety. It's not going to enjoy the idea of doing something new because it likes comfort. It doesn't want to leave the comfort zone. But we have to think about fear as a yellow light. Fear is not a red light. Fear is something that we can't handle. It's inside of us. It's not this big scary thing. And on the other side of fear is courage. So we have to understand that no matter what, we are capable. And if we're not capable this time, we're going to learn. We're going to be capable next time. Okay? And I always bring up this analogy because I think it's really beautiful. But when we're afraid, right, we hear our heart beating. It's beating really hard. It's getting bigger in our chest. We're scared. We're nervous. We feel in our stomach. But once again, we can change our perspective, right? We can change how we think, right? We can always flip it, right? That fear is our body applauding us. It's telling us, go. You can do it. Go ahead. We're here for you. We got your back. And for me, that is extremely beautiful because this feeling does not have to make us stop. It can make us go. And I hope people understand that when they think about fear, especially when it's something they want to do, when they know they need to do it, right? Whether they want to travel, whether they want to get this job, whether they have this interview, whether they want to speak up to their friend, any little thing that causes little fear in your heart, do not let that be a stopping factor for you, okay? So that's why I say fear is yellow light. Like when you're driving, you see a yellow light, usually you're just like, I'm going, Like you get a little scared, but you're like, I'm going. Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? Like you almost missed it, but The third lesson I'll say is, your environment does slow you down. Your parents, they might slow you down too. When your environment puts these thoughts on you, puts these ideas on you, it slows you down, right? You're not free. You don't have the ability to grow and have independent thoughts. You don't have the ability to learn who you are, learn what you want in this life. And the quicker you are able to do that, the quicker you're able to get ahead in life in a way that makes you happy, that makes you feel better, and not just you living up to your parents' expectations, living up to your environment's expectations. I understand this part for me is obviously it's difficult in a lot of senses, but it's important. We have to be able to think for ourselves. We cannot be controlled by our environment, what we see on social media. We have to work on having intellectual creative ideas, intellectual creative thoughts, and being able to learn what is different from my mind and from other people's mind. So um I've learned that too, man, because once you come home, this is probably the next lesson already, but like once you come home, you're gonna revert back to your old self. You know, energy is strong. You know, your mind is nostalgic. You know, you come back home, oh man, and then you turn back into your old self, and that's totally okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you felt you were happier when you weren't, you know, if you felt happier when you, what was I gonna say? If you felt happier when you weren't, if you felt happier, if you felt happy when you weren't back to where, if you, if you weren't happier when you were back home, then you gotta think about that, right? So once you come back home, your thoughts, your beliefs, how you acted, they're gonna come back screaming, like finally, we've been waiting for this. Like we need this, and you're gonna turn back into your old self. And these thoughts, these ideas, they're gonna come back tenfold. And this is one thing you have to adjust to, right? You know, this is all about adjusting. Also, you know, obviously, it's gonna be impossible to fix this in 2 weeks, in a month, and sometimes you just have to also enjoy the journey, right? So that means just going through this period of time where you are reverting back to your old self, even learning more about who you are, how much you have changed, why did you change, what made you feel the change. Because obviously, you know, you go to a new place, you act brand new. You can be whoever you want to be, and that's why I think it's so awesome to travel, to learn, have all these new experiences. Because if you're new at something, you know, you join a new gym club, you can be a new person at the gym club. You know, you don't have to be a new person all the time, but the gym club, that's your new hobby, that's your new moment for you to shine, for you to be yourself. You know, you join a running club, you know, you can be yourself there, you know, be a new person. That's why I feel like it's so awesome to try new things, to do new things, because we have the ability to change at any moment, right? We don't always have to stay in the same place, the same mindset, just because that's what our environment told us to do. That's just because what social media told us to do. Um, we have the ability to change who we are, to change what we think, change with our imagination, right? So it's really beautiful, and that's why it's also important to reflect, because we can say, why did we think these thoughts? Who made us think of these thoughts? Do we actually care about these values, these core values that are installed into our brains? Is that really important to us, right? So, you know, the path is always about finding yourself, and the path never ends. You know, you're going to be 70 still learning new things about yourself, and that's totally okay. You know, we all take time. We all need the time we need to grow. And yes. So yeah, I'll keep it there. You know, like I said before, coming back home is difficult. You know, you are going back to your old ways, kind of going back to the past. And, you know, we don't really enjoy the past because it's in the past. Don't need to bring it back, you know? And I always want people to know that the goal is not to be perfect. You know, the goal is not just to come back home and understand that it's going to be fixed in, like, you know, 2 years. It might be fixed in 10 years. You know, it's always a struggle, and it's extremely hard to get out of those limiting beliefs. It's extremely hard to get out of that mindset unless you remove yourself from that environment. You know, you cannot grow in a place that has stunted your growth. You cannot grow in a place that has, kind of held you down, right? A flower can't grow in the dark. It has to grow in the sun. You gotta change the environment. Bottled water is $1 at the dollar store, but at the airport it's like $5. You gotta change the environment. And if you ever feel something in your stomach telling you to change your environment, listen to it. It obviously is going to help you. Your body knows yourself more than anyone else, and that is what is the most important part at the end of the day, right? So, being back home after being abroad, I love that I'm back home. I love that I kind of am starting over again. I feel like it's really been helpful to me on my journey. You gotta have highs, you gotta have lows, you gotta have moments where you're working hard. Um, you gotta have moments where you're not where you're suffering, but where you're focused, you're locked in. You have a goal, and you do whatever you can do to get to that part. That process, the routine, the things you're doing day to day. You're really focused, and yeah. So if you go abroad, I'm really excited for you. If you do anything new, this is way for anything new. I hate to be so general, but I guess it is kind of for being abroad, because when you live abroad, live in another state, you do become like, you feel a weight off your shoulders, right? You feel all this trauma leaving, all this pain leaving, all of this, just you feel like you're out of a cage, a bird almost. So hopefully you learned something from this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Have you been abroad? Let me know. Where'd you go? Why'd you go there? Are you teaching? Are you living there? Are you going there alone? Going there with friends? And yeah, understand that, like I said before, we have the ability to use our imagination to reprogram our mind, create our own thoughts, create our own beliefs, and the process is the goal. So, even if it's 1% today, 1% tomorrow, that's still 1%, right? That 1% is going to compound in 5 to 10 years to 15%. So, understand that it's not a 1 day, 1 week, 2 month, 1 year project. This is just a lifestyle. When we are making something a lifestyle, we're claiming priority to that thing, right? We're claiming priority to be a better person. We're claiming priority to be more loving for ourselves, putting ourselves first. Okay, so I love you. I believe in you. I'm here for you. I'm proud of you. And most importantly, I forgive you. I forgive you. Until next time.